Yeah, Miles Bondo!
Oh, new name! How's it going? Okay, so a long time ago, one of my comedian friends told me that you need to make the audience seem like your friends. Oh, shit. Alright, so that being said, I've got good news, I've got bad news. The good news is, I love this story. The bad news is, it's a great story. So, this is a story about me waking up one day. And I wake up, I go into the bathroom, and I had to take the most amazing, ridiculous morning piss. So I'm going to go and act out exactly what I did without flashing you guys.
Oh.
That's when it occurred to me, I could not move the left side of my face. So, needless to say, I was shocked. I was concerned. So I did the most natural thing that I thought I could do at the time, which is pick up the phone and dial 9 and whatever my friend Paul's number was. So I called him up and I was like, Paul, you're not going to believe this. I think half my face isn't working. So he needed to verify this, so I decided this would be a great opportunity to head over to his room. And I go over to his place. It was over in Davis, I think, so I knock on the window, head around to the front. Paul looks at me. Okay, explain. I gave him the smile. He starts cracking up. So I was like, well, that's a fairly natural reaction. That's kind of expected. So I take a little while, like I'm sitting in the room and I'm explaining exactly what happened there the day before, and I was just, I don't know, I just woke up and my face wasn't working. And I know it seems natural now, but it was really freaky shit at the time. So his roommate's there. His roommate Dan, nicest guy I've ever met, absolutely fantastic guy. So I figured if anyone could give an honest critique, an honest opinion of what's going on, it would be his girlfriend. So she was like, you should go to the hospital. And that makes a lot of sense. But I was curious more than anything else. I want to go to the hospital. I didn't want to go to a hospital and say, I don't know what the fuck's wrong. I woke up and my face isn't working out. What do I do? I want to say, hey, I think there's some numbness here, or at least I'm a little bit like aware of what the fuck happened to this thing. So I tell my friend Dan, because I figured he'd be, understanding and gentle, to slap me on the left side of my face. Now, hear me out. I wasn't sure if it was a muscle thing or if it was numb. And that's going to be the perfect way to tell, because, you touch your face, you're not sure if it's your hand touching it or the face feeling it. So this is a genius idea, right? I got this. I am so good with diagnosis. I really should go into med school. Unfortunately, he doesn't oblige. He was like, listen, I'm not going to slap you, but Dan, please. For me? So he unfortunately says no, so I turn to my friend Paul, and I was like, Paul, can you be the better man? I get a nice, firm backhand to the left side of my face, and lo and behold, I feel nothing. And then it occurred to me, I was like, wait, so it actually is numb. I'm like, okay, this is good. I know exactly what's going to happen. So I go to the hospital. I don't remember what I was doing all day. I was probably just telling everybody. Because I don't remember what happened. It was kind of like a blackout in my memory. All I remember is getting to the hospital, and it's exactly how you would imagine a hospital, like a cartoon, where everybody has something wrong with them, and you're like the one guy that shows up just like, well, I don't have anything sticking out of I'm not bleeding. It's the emergency room, so there's nothing apparently wrong with me, and I don't have lupus. So, it makes a lot of it makes sense to me, but for everybody else, just who the fuck's this guy? The entrance is over there. It's kind of serious. So I finally got to see the doctor. Doctor's like, okay, so who are you and what the fuck's wrong? And I was like, left side of my face. Okay, cool. He asked me like a string of questions. He's like, okay, so where do you live? And I was like, oh, I live in a college dorm room. He's like, okay, cool. So what do you do? It's like, I'm a student. I don't really do anything. So, okay, have you gone to any exotic countries lately? No. Have you had Lyme disease? No. Have you had any engagements with people in foreign countries or from outside the U.S.? No. That would be pretty cool. No. So he was like, okay, well, honestly, I really don't know what the deal is, but I think you have a thing called Bell's palsy. I didn't hear the Bell's part. I thought, shit, I've got palsy. Now, the only time I've ever even remotely heard of palsy was, ironically enough, another comedian goes on stage and he's just like, I've got palsy. And I was like, oh boy. This is a sign. This is actually a sign. So I was like, look, doc, I can't, how long do I have to deal with this, if or not, for my entire life? And he was like, well, the good news is it usually clears up in about a month. The bad news is it's sometimes permanent. That's the bad news. Needless to say, it got better, but that's not the point. At the time that I was in the ER, I was basically shitting my pants. Diarrhea is also pretty bad. That wasn't a symptom, but it was caused by. So I talked to the doctor. I was like, look, okay, so what do I do? He's like, okay, well, you go to a physical therapist, and he gives you a program. And I was like, okay, fine, program. Yeah, okay. Program, gotcha. What else? He's like, and I'm not sure if you noticed this, but you can't close your left eye. I was just like, what the hell do you take me for? And it's just, like, I was offended because I was just like, you think I would notice something like that? Then it occurred to me that I didn't really, I didn't really notice that. Not to mention it weirds the fuck out of people whenever I'm trying to take a nap, which is really weird. This wasn't around Halloween. Oh, that would have been fantastic. Because he was like, there's only one cure for the eye thing, and that is an eye patch.
Yes!
So, exactly. That is exactly the first thing that popped in my mind. I was just like, I'm getting an eye patch? And I was like, this is fantastic. And I was just, so I look at it, it's like, I'm not sure if you've ever seen medical eye patches, but they got a little cone and everything. It's like, it's just blank. It's just like, oh, this is really cool. You wouldn't happen to have one of these with like a skull and crossbones. Because I mean, like, Halloween's already passed by, and he, without saying another word, takes it out of my hand. Hands me one with a skull and crossbones. I had my new calling in life. It was an awakening to my pirate self. And so began probably the most hilarious month of my life. The first week of which I was basically running around as a pirate on campus. Which was fantastic, and it was everything it was cracked up to be. So if you can imagine me with a pirate hat and a sword, I didn't have a parrot, but I did meet Gilbert Gottfried once, and that counts. So I figured, close enough, I think this can work. But the funnest part about this disease, which there's nothing fun about disease, is if you guys have something, you should see a doctor the day of, before, like, the ER gets filled up in the evening, because it does that. But the key thing is, this disease was hilarious. I had so much fun with palsy than I ever should have possibly had. So I went to class, the pirate thing, and that was kind of funny for like the first few minutes. And then people were just like, no, seriously, take the hat off. And I was like, okay, fine, I guess that's respectful. But I could not talk like a pirate because I talk like this. So you gotta put a yar and a two behind it. So you can't. So every day was talk like a pirate day for that good week and a half or so. But then I read it and I was like, this pirate thing's kind of getting tired. Then I was like, you know what? This is actually. It occurred to me, like in the process of talking with friends about this whole thing, it's a really good conversation starter. So I hit parties with palsy. Which the first thing I noticed, drinking is a major. I mean, man, I don't want to drink out of the bottle all the time, but you kind of have to. Why bring glasses? don't do it if you ever get palsy. Bad shit happens all over like your pants. And so I realized I needed to it was the minor things about palsy like that really got to me. It's not only that, but one of the other things was a couple of my friends thought it would be really funny to try doing the White Castle challenge when I had palsy, and I was drunk, which is kind of redundant. Like I'm pretty sure if you went to a White Castle and there was a whole group of people there, you could probably just walk by and breathe in the fumes and get intoxicated. Because let's face it, why the fuck would you not go to White Castle? The crate casing failed miserably. But the drinking certainly didn't after I got the hang of it. So then I figured, you know what, this might be a little fucked up, but I wonder how many phone numbers I can get when half my face isn't working. So I tried it. And, God, there's some really fucked up people in Hoboken. I am far from remotely good looking. And this made it even worse, but somehow I picked up more numbers in maybe 2 weeks when I had palsy than my face being perfectly fine. So, if that says anything about the world we live in, I don't know. You can infer more than I can. But the worst part, probably one of the funnier parts actually, was whenever I got turned down about it, it was always kind of every once in a while, I would get a little bit bored and I would just try, a really corny pickup line. So I'd go up and I'd just be sometimes I'd have my eye patch on. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. But I would have the eye patch on and I'd just be like, they called me Peg Leg back in high school. Isn't it awful? That's what she thought too. So she was like, how about I slap that shit-eating grin off your face? Can't get rid of it. I thought she was being unreasonable. But after about a month or so, I started getting really worried because, actually, I forgot. You see, this is the part about not doing comedy in a while. I forgot part of my joke. The therapy was probably one of the funnier parts. Because I go to the therapist's office, and there are people they're amputees. There are people with in crutches, and I walk in, and once again I feel out of place, just like it's just so what's your deal? So it was so apparently you got the partial facial paralysis thing. So here's what we're gonna do: we're gonna give you electroshock therapy. I was like, that sounds sexy. Here, or is it the thing I always see in the movies? Because I've seen films like that. But so it turns out to be my face. And the long and short of it, they were like, okay, so we have to do facial exercises. So I'm sitting in my room, and I got this sheet of paper, and it's just got a whole sheet full of faces: frowny faces, smiley faces, concerned faces, semi-frowny faces. So I'm basically sitting in front of the mirror, and all of the faces look exactly the same. So I'd have to lift my lip to make sure I'm doing the right face. I want to make sure I'm doing this right. Injuring yourself while exercising, very bad thing. And naturally, this would be the most perfect time for my roommate to come in. For probably the first time ever, with a woman from Stevens. So it was really awkward to be it's like they walk in the room and they're half drunk and I'm sitting there. Do you want me to? I'll leave. Okay, just let me get out of the couch. But after about a month of the therapy, it got really concerning because I didn't see any improvements. So now I kind of know how it feels when you're late on your period. I know, it's really, really scary. I'm looking up, and there's no change. So I was in a state of shock when that, the 30 days hit, and I was just still not going away. 30-second day, wake up, look at the mirror. It looks like nothing's changed, but I feel just the tiniest change. So and I'm just jumping. I'm just this is it. This is the first minute Yeah, it's probably a millimeter, probably less actually. I just could feel it in my face that I couldn't feel with.
How much material do you
That
have?
something has changed. So
Okay, good.
I picked the phone
This is going for 15 minutes.
and I dialed Paul again. I'm just like, you're not gonna believe this. I've gotten better. So I rush over to his place. I'm just like, look, look, look. He's like, and I was right.